Welcome to the OC Politics Show, keeping politics bipartisan, local, and on the level.
Welcome to the OC Politics Show. I'm Joe Matthews.
And I'm Todd DeVoe.
What were you thinking?
What?
The political gaffes are dominating our fair cities, Todd.
Oh, geez.
From mailers for personal gain to a lack of historical perspective, politics can damage the communities and their trust. Should cities sell taxpayers' land at a discount? And what is a city's duty? And what is a city's duty to make affordable housing? And now for the political whip around. What the? Wow, it delayed on me.
My whip wasn't working, Joe. My whip, I was trying it. It just was not working.
There you go. Whip around, man. Okay.
All's good. Oh, wait, that's me. So Anaheim announces a bid to sell Angel Stadium land for $150 million. And by the way, that originally they started talking like $350 million. So it's a half price deal. You too can own land in Anaheim for half price. Taxpayers are subsidizing housing and a park with that deal.
Orange County Democratic Party vice chair resigns from leadership and over an uproar over Ho Chi Minh Post.
Santa Ana, San Clemente approached different stages of affordable housing debate this week.
Irvine City Council member tried to sneak one by.
Yes, he did. Woo.
Okay, so let's talk about our guy, another person that just resigned. Yes, a top official with Orange County Democratic Party resigned from his leadership role on Wednesday in the face of an uproar among local politicians and community members in Little Saigon over a Facebook post that he shared last Sunday. So let's see, he posted it on Sunday and he's gone by Wednesday. Wow. I'll go praising the Vietnamese communist leader Ho Chi Minh, making that guy a good guy.
You know, I mean, there's two things of that. One is understanding who your audience is, I suppose, is very important. And the fact that, in Westminster specifically is a lot of refugees from, and they were refugees, from Vietnam, because the Vietnamese, North Vietnam, they were going through and they were snagging up people's, parents, grandparents, uncles, brothers. All this thing was happening. The people who live there and now, taking them to re-education camps and killing them. And if you're a low-level bureaucrat, like say you happen to be the city planner, they're snagging you up and they're killing you. And so the people who escaped Vietnam and came here and live in Westminster and Garden Grove in those areas, they still have raw emotions about Ho Chi Minh. They're not really big fans of the guy. It'd be like if somebody moved into a Jewish neighborhood and was like, hey, Hitler was a pretty decent guy at the end of the day. That wouldn't be, it's not tolerated.
Yeah. I get you. So he tried to apologize, and I'll let you be the judge if it's a true apology or is just placating people that he doesn't understand once again. In the past days, the trauma that Ho Chi Minh's dictatorship wrought on Vietnamese members of our community has been made abundantly clear to me, said Jeff Letourneau, vice chair of the Democratic Party of Orange County, in a statement on Wednesday. To the almost 35,000 Vietnamese members of the Democratic Party in Orange County and to all the Vietnamese members of the community, I apologize for sharing the post, he said in a statement. That's like the lamest apology I can think of. I'm just going to apologize for my post, not really what I said or how I said it
or how he believes.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't go through and say, hey, I took a look at the historical context of who this guy was. And, and this is a kind of an interesting thing overall, right? And I'm going to add this, Joe, to this. And I know that we've had this discussion in the past, but you see a lot of college kids, right? Political left-leaning college kids or Bernie Sanders supporters. I've seen it the reason why I bring up Bernie Sanders, I'm not saying Bernie Sanders is this way. I'm just saying that his supporters you see the t-shirts and they're wearing like the Che Guevara t-shirt, and like Che Guevara, for whatever reason, outside that it's like this, I guess the cool anti-culture culture or whatever. That guy wasn't a nice guy either. I mean, like he was a homophobe. He was racist. He killed people who were gay just for being gay. And stuff like that. And I don't think sometimes when we take a look at historical leaders, that we look at their picture totally, but if they subscribe to their political views, they prop them up.
Yeah. Well, I don't see a Ho Chi Minh t-shirts very often, but I do see a Che Guevara shirts a lot. So in resigning, he's also resigned as he's also stepped down as co-chair of the party's resolutions and bylaws committee. Now he resigned this last Wednesday, just 3 days after he shared the Facebook post praising the late communist leader as someone who, check this out, liberated an entire poor colonized nation from two of the most powerful military forces in the world. And then what he did is he deleted it 90 minutes later, which means he posted it and he has friends out there that said, what do you think you're doing? And then you took it down, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to say that because we said about the t-shirt thing about Ho Chi Minh. I don't know if you remember, like 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, a video store owner in Westminster put a poster of Ho Chi Minh up at his store, and that caused protest like galore, days of protests outside of that video store. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I do. And it was peaceful, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely peaceful. And I got one thing I have to say is the people of Westminster who, when they protest, they are truly the most gracious protesters that I've ever been around. They say thank you. They thank you for being there. I was there as a medical standby back in that day, working for the ambulance company that I worked for, that Joe and I both worked for back then. And then when they left, they cleaned the entire place up. You wouldn't even know they were there.
I know what I'm getting Jeff Letourneau for Christmas.
What's that?
The DVD, Good Morning Vietnam.
maybe you should buy it. Maybe you should buy it streaming. I don't know if DVDs exist anymore.
Well, he needs to watch the movie. He needs a good laugh right now, and then he's going to go, oh, yeah. Because that movie's pretty historically accurate, actually.
Yeah, it is. No, that's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Ron Williams was very loyal to his people, and you could tell the way he interacted with the locals.
Man, I miss Robin Williams. Side note here, I miss Robin Williams. He always was great for the American troops. People don't know this. Maybe they do, but a lot of people don't. He donated his time, kind of like Bob Hope did back in the day. Donated his time for the USO, went and entertained the troops over in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he did that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that guy did, and he's definitely missed.
So, Tom, we're going to get back to the story here. Me and Brian were just talking about Ron Williams this morning, good guy. But Orange County's Little Saigon counts as one of the largest concentration of Vietnamese Americans in America, and many who fled Vietnam in the days and the years following the fall of Saigon, as well as one of the largest concentrations of Vietnamese people outside of Vietnam. Now, LA Times, I looked up a story from LA Times, and there's 183,000 Vietnamese Americans living in Little Saigon, which is huge.
Yeah, it is huge. I've been doing some work with the Catholic diocese here in Orange County, and yesterday is a good example. And you know how hot it was yesterday here?
Over 100. It
was like
over 105.
According to my phone, it was 109 degrees out, and the Catholic Vietnamese community was their mass, the outdoor mass, was packed. I mean, like, they all had their masks on, or everybody's outdoors, and they were packed in that heat. Later on, just this kind of as an example, later on, the English speaking mass was on there, about 3/4, maybe half full. I'm just saying they're out there like they don't give a crap. It's hot. They're going to go to church. You know what I mean? The community's strong together. Where the typical white American guy family was like, it's too hot. I'm not going to go to mass. Can't make it. Too hot. Might be sweaty. So anyway.
So, I'm getting back to the story, Todd.
Yes.
So they had a protest, a counter protest. Actually, the Democratic Party had to have a show of force, and they met. They met last Tuesday at Freedom Park in Westminster, and a collection of candidates that are running. Even Janet Noonan, in a Facebook post, challenged her Democratic opponent in the 72 district, Deidre Noonan, to reject Orange County. I just think it's funny. Orange County Democratic Party's endorsement and the money, if this is what they stand for. So she's expecting this Republican. Thinks that her opponent will reject the money that she gets from the Democratic Party just because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, that goes back, and this is ridiculous on both sides. This whole thing of and this is a tactic that's out of the progressive left, where somebody does something and just like, well, if you don't reject them, then you're supporting them. Your silence is approval. That type of stuff, or the whole concept of the cancel culture. And it looks like this Republican specifically is picking up on that idea as well, and kind of using that for her political gain. And so that's my opinion on that part of it. Yeah.
So this news conference brought out Congressman Harley Ruda, County Supervisor Michelle Steele, candidate Sergio Contreras, Andrew Doe. I mean, a show of force from the Democratic Party, trying to convince the public that they are nowhere near this guy's point of view. So that's it for this guy. Good luck to him. I hope he at least votes.
I wonder what he's going to do for a living if he's a political operative and he has no political party to operate for.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen someone get canned in 3 days. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, we're in it. Look at, and realistically, we're in a culture right now. I don't know if culture is the word to use, but we're in a time in our life right now where things that you do and post on social media, if you really need to think about what you're saying, and I've been guilty of it, right? I've posted. I got to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. You post things, you go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said it in that way, and thinking about it. But you really have to think about this, because you say something, and next thing you know, you're no longer employed by anybody.
Yep.
Doesn't really do well for open debate. And speaking about open debate, Anaheim announces a bid to sell Angel Stadium. Did you know that?
No, did not know that.
Yeah, they actually were talking about it a while ago, and they were going to sell for $325 million. And it looked like it was going to go to the Anaheim Angels. They have a subgroup, the organization that owns the Angels, at least, and they're going to purchase this thing for $325 million.
And the city does own it, right? Right.
The city owns it currently, yes.
Yeah, right.
And at the time, I was like, "Wow, that's a steal!" It's like it's bigger. The land that's over there is bigger than Disneyland. It's like 70-something acres or something like that. They want to tear down the old stadium, build a new stadium, and develop that entire parking lot into some housing, into some parkland and stuff like this. Negotiations were kind of quiet, and there was a little bit of uproar on this. And then the other day, on the 9th, this is, Anaheim announces bid to sell the stadium for $150 million. So during this time of when real estate prices are skyrocketing, the city of Anaheim decides to discount that property by almost half, maybe a little bit under half.
What about half extras? The things that you don't pay for, that the things that you give up, like concession control, and there's a lot of other things out there that can raise millions of dollars other than the bottom line price tag, right?
Well, right, yeah, but I mean, like Anaheim owned the parking lot, so when you put the $20 in to go park there, that money went to the city of Anaheim. Things like this that they were raising, associated with it, and this deal is actually one of the is a bigger deal than what happened when the Honda Center, was built and purchased back in the day, and so now here's the thing. This is and this is what I think is good about this deal when it goes through, and I'm sure it's going to go through. The area is going to be developed. That big, huge parking lot will no longer be this big parking lot they're going to build. I don't exactly how they're going to do park from the artist rendition of what's happening. I don't see where parking is going to be, and so that's to be discussed. But they're going to have like parkland. They're going to have more housing, more retail shops and stuff like this. And if you've been over there in a while, you can see like some really cool things are happening around the area. Some restaurants that are opening up around the area during the time. There's a lot of, it could be almost, I'm going to stretch it a little bit here, and I don't mean it in the sense of this, but it could almost be like that LA Live redevelopment that they did in downtown LA, where now it's a destination to go to. It's not just going to the Staples Center. There's things to do around the Staples Center before and after the game. And keeping people spending money inside that city. So I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but my question about this and the political side of it is, should we being the people, and it's the city of Anaheim, it's up to them, right? It's up to the voters of Anaheim, but should we be discounting property for these deals? Is this going to end up being, using the term, corporate welfare, right? If you could sell for twice the amount, is it worth it? Or is there something built in this deal where they cut it in half on the money up front, like you said, with the parks and the other things? Maybe there's a revenue share going on or something like that. I don't know what the whole entire deal is because it's not laid out in this article, and a lot of the stuff is secret, right? It's not. It's in negotiation still.
Well, I feel like what we don't know is that whoever they sell it to has the capacity to redevelop the whole area and make it nice and fancy and beautiful and pretty, and do a better job, probably do it cheaper, and and bring in the even more sales taxes than the stadium does. So
yeah,
it's kind of like, get your foot in the door with 150 million, but you're going to make 300 million in taxes with 25 new restaurants and an amusement park, whatever.
Park.
Huh?
There's no amusement park going in there, but
oh yeah, there's gonna be an amusement park. There's always an amusement park that goes in. For 150 million. I want an amusement park.
So, but and you're right about that, Joe. I agree with you on the aspect of the back end, potential of earning more money. And the other thing too is it is going to be owned by the Angel State group. I don't know what they're called. This Artie Moreno's group. They have the real estate aspect of it. It's going to be owned by him. He is a businessman. He owned or ran, or not owned. He was the CEO of Coca-Cola. He knows business. You know what I mean? He's not just a guy who's looking at just the baseball team. But this is the other thing too, is that Angels were looking at leaving Anaheim. It all started when Moreno Group changed name from Anaheim Angels to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and now I think they're just called Los Angeles Angels. They were talking about leaving, and Long Beach was making a huge play for them to come move over there. They wanted to give them some land so they could build almost like the AT&T Park up in San Francisco, right on the waterfront. It would have been a beautiful looking. The artist rendition was looking really cool. Especially with the idea of having mass transit going to the park with the current mass transit system that Long Beach has in it. Sounded really good, and I was like, oh man, is Anaheim really going to lose the Angels? Because it looked good. But with this deal, Moreno would own the stadium, so that means that he would be able to make the money off the stadium, other things that go there, such as like all the races and stuff that happens. The motorcycle races, those they can't think what, or the Monster Jam or whatever those things are. Supercross. Thank you. The Supercross races, all those things. So he'd be able to make that money on that side of it, and not only that, the Angels would guarantee that they would stay inside of Anaheim until 2050, I think it said.
Yeah,
and I'll be dead by then.
No, you won't, Todd. You're gonna live forever.
God help not. Okay.
All right. So, Todd, We have another tattleteller out there. This time it's Councilwoman Melissa Fox. She's a Democrat. She's also running for state assembly, but she is accusing Irvine City Council member Mike Carroll. Now, this guy's under criticism for alleged allegations he authorized over $70,000 in city money on city mailers over the past year that improperly benefited his reelection campaign, according to a new complaint filed with the state Fair Political Practices Commission, and therefore he goes on the watch list. Like I said, Melissa Fox said that she basically said that the city staff laid out how Carroll, running as a Republican, authorized $40,000 in the last fiscal year on city mailers, and then an additional $32,000 in the last 2 months. Now, this is his apology, or this is his side. I take back the apology. Carroll called the complaint a political hack job, and in a statement to the Voice of OC, who we love, and said the money for the letters came from the allocation every council member receives from their staff, not the council's mail fund. Each city council has resources and applies to them differently. After COVID-19, it was impossible for my staff to meet with 287,000 residents face-to-face, Carroll wrote. It's communicating with residents in a need that is unprecedented at this time for councilman. For Councilman Fox, this is very disappointing.
So here's a question for you, Joe. Have you ever gotten those mailers from your congressional representative on official government dime?
No, they're usually paid by a PAC or a different organization.
Not your political flyer. That flyer that comes for every month from your congressional district person.
Oh,
right. And it's like, look at me, look at what I'm doing for your district. And you read through it, it's like, pictures of your, congressperson. I don't know who you have, with like their arm around like some, your city manager, your mayor. You're like, oh, I handed them a check for like, oh, look at what I got them from the federal government. I got them $150,000 for a new library. I mean, yeah. You and I have both been in those pictures, right? Yeah. With our, and so I always think it's kind of funny because what that basically is free for that congressional person. So for my case, it's Gil Cisneros, right, is able to push out these cool, look at me, look at Gil flyers, right? And it's paid for by the taxpayer. So what's the difference between, and I don't know what the rules are, so and that's why I'm asking.
I think the city has their own set of rules because the city's Republican mayor, Christina Shea, is also taking issue with the complaint. And according to the complaint, Carroll also didn't go through city management to send the letters, but he went directly to the mailroom staff and he gave them instructions. Ooh, he snuck in the back door.
He did sneak in the back door.
That's right.
So he didn't talk to the city man. He didn't talk to the city manager first, or
no. He thinks he's a new guy in town. He's not. He's the appointment from. Well, I'll get to that. Nearly all the letters were advertisements for virtual town halls hosted by the city to discuss the coronavirus epidemic and city services, and routinely featured multiple members of city council and relatives of community institutions such as UC Irvine and Hoag Hospital. But the letters authorized by Carroll had no mention was made of other city council members, and with a large title that read, "Please join Mike Carroll, City Mayor, City of Irvine," followed by a list of discussion topics. None of the letters submitted in the complaint mentioned his campaign. So Fox filed the campaign with the California Fair Practices Commission and the district attorney and the state district attorney's office. Now, last year, guess how much he spent on postage?
$25.
Almost $220.
Wow. I was actually just, I thought it was going to be more.
Yeah. So this will be his first run at office since appointed in 2019 when Don Wagner, the mayor, won a special election and now is the 3rd district county supervisor. So he was appointed. So this is his first time actually running for something. So
So let me ask you this again, and I just want to clarify. So the mailers he sent out weren't like, "Hey, vote for me," mailers. They were, "This is what the city's doing, and I happen to be part of it," mailers.
it was more personalized than the letters that normally go out are letters that said, "Hey, everybody, we're doing this together. Here's all the city council members. Here's all our sponsors." And then his letters were like, "Hey, it's me. How you doing?" You know what I mean? So I remember working for
How you doing?
yeah, working for Supervisor Kanabi, and these mailers would go out once a year, and they were very strict to have every single picture of every single supervisor. Not one supervisor could send out something. If the district got one supervisor, that you got all the pictures and all the names, just so it would not favor one or the other. Excuse me. So
basically, let me kind of go back a second here. And so if he was to put out the mailer saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm doing all this crazy stuff," and by the way, there's 4 other city council members or 5, whatever they have on there, or 4, right? Before the city council members going, "Hey, look at those 4 people too," he would have been cool. But because he didn't add the other 4 people, then he's in violation of the campaign thing.
it's I think it's the city. I mean, if the mayor jumps in and says, "Look," and she's also asking for an entire review of city council expenses and discuss how money's going to be. She's even wants to have a public meeting to discuss how money is spent by these mailers. So
absolutely, that should be done. I agree with her.
So they're considering city of Irvine is facing an $18 million deficit. And even though it's $70,000, that's what we know of, right?
Right.
She's making it very clear as mayor that he is not allowed to do that. Nobody's going to do it unless you get special permission. So it's kind of frozen everybody from even touching flyers.
And this goes back to why we started the OC Politics show, was to take a look at these local politicians, local political stuff, and say, look, there's money, real money. $18 million is, I mean, $70,000 for that matter is real money. I mean, there's people that live in Orange County that don't even make that as a salary, right? But saying, spending that money, taxpayers' money, whether it's let's just say I'll give him the benefit of the doubt right now. Let's say that he didn't do anything intentionally for election. We'll just say that, right? So that being said, he's still spending $70,000 in a time when you're at a deficit crunch, when you're cutting positions. People are being laid off, and then you think it's okay to spend $70,000 on a mailer. This just doesn't pass the smell test as far as good decision making. You know what I mean? Let alone whether it was irresponsible on the political side of it or not. But that's me. I like to take a look at what people are spending and why. And when I worked in government, if I could not justify spending a nickel, I wouldn't spend it. You know what I mean? I had to take a look at that and say, if I had to go in front of the city council and say why we're spending that money, I had to be able to justify that. And I think if we take a look at that in that aspect of things, we probably should be better off. So anyway,
I agree.
Joe,
yeah,
what do you think of? And you and I worked in the past on homeless issues, right? You and I, we worked on affordable housing issues and things like this in the past. And the city of Santa Ana and San Clemente, they have 2 different approaches into how to deal with this affordable housing debate. And so basically the question here is the requirement for profit housing developers to incorporate apartments into their projects that would set off for affordable housing. And there's a fee that you could do in lieu of. So basically, instead of building an affordable apartment in your apartment complex, you say, okay, I'm going to put, money into, say, parks or into other programs.
Paying up the city.
Yeah. And so those are the 2 different sides of it. So oddly enough, Santa Ana, one of California's densest cities, right? And it's filled with, I mean, if you've been down to Santa Ana, they're doing a lot of construction right now. Joe's a Santa Ana resident. So what's going on in downtown Santa Ana right now, Joe?
It's a revival. I mean, over the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say, it's downtown has gotten some good quality restaurants, some good nightclubs that are kind of proliferating. The theater, I mean, we even have a movie theater there that plays old classics. So and they're thinking about putting a trolley down the middle of it all. So Santa Ana's a rebirth town right now.
So the city of Santa Ana, the council members have set a narrow criteria for applicable projects to reduce the in lieu fee. Right, so they want to reduce that in lieu fee, basically making it easier for developers to build market rate higher income apartments. The second and final vote on for the Tuesday meeting. So Santa Ana's is with they're taking it the opposite direction. They are reducing that in lieu fee.
Oh, I forgot. There's gentrification going on. I should have mentioned that. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Todd. You were saying? Todd? Go ahead.
Just shoves that in there, and I know it's going to fall apart tomorrow. And so, but it's funny. In San Clemente, which is one of the most affluent zip codes in Orange County, they have an in lieu policy in place since the 1980s, and they're looking at ways they can reconfigure and calculate the in lieu fee for developers as well, but maybe increasing the that number. So it's weird that the more affluent neighborhoods are actually looking to make it harder to develop necessarily, and Santa Ana is trying to remove roadblocks for development. What say you, Santa Ana resident?
More high rises, more fancy houses, more higher rent. There's a lot of buildings there in downtown that are vacant, that are getting transferred into fancy studio apartments. I mean, I see the gentrification happening as we speak. So I don't think the city's like being generous. They want that kind of development because it does bring in tax dollars.
It does, and so I guess my question is that you go to the Civic Center in Santa Ana, right? And it's full of homeless people, right? I mean, we regardless of which side of the fence you sit on, right? We could both agree, or we could all agree. There's more than two people here in Orange County, by the way. We could all agree that there's a crisis. There's a homeless crisis going on, right? And what do we do with that homeless population? I mean, there's obviously, and homelessness is not for one show, not for a couple seconds in this thing, because there's so many issues associated with homeless, whether there's mental health, drug, alcohol issues, things like this, that play into the homelessness issue. That's a whole different story. Economic opportunities, right? But let's just talk about the affordable housing portion of it, right? And again, myself as somebody who is libertarian leaning, I am not in for forcing people to create affordable housing. However, I'm okay with the in lieu fees, or I'm okay with the idea of saying, hey, when we're taking a look at these building projects, what does this mean for the community? And take a look at smart development and things like this, right? As a city planner, you should be looking at those things, however it works out. But what is our solution then for the affordable homes in Santa Ana? If that's Santa Ana is probably one of the poorest, and it's according to this article, zip codes, it has some of the poorest zip codes in Orange County, where San Clemente has some of the richest zip codes in Orange County. So there's the tale of two cities, right?
Well, if you look at Santa Ana, you have downtown, and then you have mom and pop neighborhoods that circle it, and those little mom and pop houses aren't going to go anywhere. So where's your new income? Where's your new funding streams coming from? Downtown and going up.
Right. So you're looking to see more high rises being built? Is that or when you say high rises, how tall are they approving? Do you know?
I don't know offhand. I don't know, man.
I was kind of curious about that. But I'm telling you though, it's the tale of two cities. This is one of those things that we should probably. I wasn't planning on doing this, but let's put Santa Ana and the gentrification of downtown on the watch list.
Okay.
Yeah. So this watch list that we have is growing.
We are busy people. We are watching.
And hey everybody, we're watching them for you, so you don't have to. just joking. You need to watch them too, people.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, what you got going on this week, Joe? Today's Labor Day, by the way. Everybody, happy Labor Day. Those of you guys that are off, we appreciate your day off. We have fires burning all around us in the area, so much so that if you are in North Orange County, there is a health alert out for your poor air quality. And I'm looking at out the window here of my house, because I'm at my home studio, obviously not at the studio downtown, and it is hazy and nasty out there, and it's snowing ash around my house.
Beautiful sunrises and sunsets.
It does create beautiful sunrises and sunsets. So what do you got going? On this weekend?
I think I'm just gonna Netflix. I'm just gonna binge something on television and do absolutely nothing because the heat makes me want to go night night.
Oh my gosh, so hot, so hot. I'm a big man, and the heat does not agree with me. I can't wait till it gets in the 60s.
You are a big man.
In more ways than one. All right. So everybody, thank you. So for myself, I'm just going to be hanging out with the family and obviously just doing work, things like that, and probably trying to stay in the air conditioning as well. So that's my plans. Brian, producer Brian, you got any big plans for this week?
Word.
Man of many words over there. Barely got work out of us. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for being with us today. I want to thank my co-host Joe Matthews for being the great guy that he is. Producer Brian, couldn't do it without him because he's the guy behind the boards. And Sitch Radio in general, for your needs, check out sitchradio.com and all the other shows that are on there as well. Please join us. And don't forget, follow us on your favorite podcast player, Facebook, YouTube. And remember, get involved. Vote local. Keep your local officials accountable. And until next week, stay safe and stay aware.